can identify who's stood out this spring and caught your eye?
I think everybody's done a good job of improving from where we started to where we are now. We talked about that this morning. We made a lot of improvements in a number of areas, both individually and collectively as groups, and that's what this time of year is for. And training camp will be here in 34 days, so we got to hit the ground running.
What do you send them off with after this quick practice today, as far as the typical get better, don't get in trouble, do all that stuff? Is that kind of your basic message to these guys?
Yeah, first and foremost, what we accomplished in the OTAs and in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which we put a lot of good work in. We can't lose that in the next, call it 30 days, in terms of our physical abilities, our techniques, our training methods. We have to come back. When training camp hits, I don't have much tolerance for mistakes during training camp. Season's getting close. So we have to be prepared mentally, and we have to be prepared physically. Then we have to make good choices and decisions outside of the building. You're used to a routine for the last 3 months, and you're going to want to represent yourself and the organization the right way.
We talk a lot about the plan for Jackson and how you're going to progress him and move him along. When you look at Abdul, though, is it just kind of go do it?
Well, I think all the rookies have a learning curve. Abdul has some special traits about him. Some of them you can see out here. Obviously, his ability to bend and get off, and create some issues in the backfield. But we have to play the run game. We have to play the pass game. He's smart. He's picked up things. We've used him in a number of different areas. I'm glad he's here. He's done a nice job.
With all the additions you made on defense, did you ever sit down with Shane and kind of say, like, all right, let's see some of the creativity now to use these different guys?
Yeah, you constantly talk about that scheme, technique, decision-making process, and certain down and distances, areas of the field. That's a continual conversation. We'll have those, throughout training camp. Shane's done a nice job of orchestrating all those things, as of the position coaches. There's a lot of good give and take. Mark Manuel, we brought in from the Jets, who's had a lot of experience, has added a lot of value to our defensive staff, as well as Dre and Cox and all the guys that have been here. But that's a constant, communication, offense, special teams, defense. You really kind of figure out your team throughout training camp, and then the early part of the year, and then you try to do what they do well.
Brian, we haven't seen Malik practice this spring or talk to him. How's he doing?
He's doing good. Yep.
Any concerns about him being ready for the start of training camp?
No. Nope.
What was the plan with him this spring then? Is it just a situation where it just needed rest, or what's?
Yeah, we were just, every person's at a different part in, call it rehab, if you will, or prehab, and we just did what we thought was best for Malik to try to get him as healthy as we can.
When did you kind of realize he was going to need the rest? Because he did a lot of stuff at the Pro Bowl and all, and then it was just the gap to show up here and hasn't really done too much.
Yeah, he's had some issues, like I said, in the past in college with it, and again, that was the plan that we came up with for him and for our football team.
With that experience, you said 34 days to training camp. Do you have a date for camp yet?
Yeah, we're as Patty asked yesterday, we're real close on that, but it'll be. Things change, but right now it'll be the 22nd.
On injury front, what about Cam Scadaboo?
I'm sorry, Charlotte.
No, that's okay. Cam and Darius, how they're doing? And
they're progressing.
You expect them to be ready?
Yeah, again, we got 34 days here. They'll do everything they can do to get ready, and hopefully they'll be ready to go.
Did they do something here, or they came in with something pre-existing? We haven't seen them do much of anything.
Yeah, I mean, they're rehabbing and doing the things we're asking them to do.
It seems like you are on the side of caution in the spring with putting guys out there, especially in live drills. What's your philosophy for sort of on that?
Philosophy is if they're ready to go, they're going to be out there, and if they're not, they're going to rehab.
Is it the same standards as as season-wise? You're saying?
One more time.
Is it the same standard as the summer and season? Same thing?
Yeah, if guys are ready to go to participate in the things we need them to do, they'll do it. And if they're we think it's better served that they're rehabbing and doing the things they need to do with the trainers, then we'll do that.
That experience that you said Marquand brings to the secondary, how have you seen that impact Deontay specifically?
Yeah, I'd include Jeff Burris in that as well. Those guys have done a nice job. But again, time will tell here as we get going, and it's more competitive, and we're playing against other guys. But they've done a nice job up to this point.
We've seen Deontay and Cordell obviously rotate a lot. Do you just view that spot as an open competition?
Yeah, I would say that we'll find out who the starters are at the end of training camp. Guys are getting different reps against different people, not just in that spot, in different areas as well, and we'll give everybody an opportunity to earn their role.
But some guys obviously don't get any reps with the twos, so it just feels like that spot's different than Paulson doesn't take any reps with the twos.
Yeah, again, there's open competition in a lot of spots, and we'll give everybody an opportunity to earn the role, and whoever earns it will be the ones that play.
That cornerback 2 spot is open then?
Yeah, I'd say there's a number of spots open. I'm not going to get into specific stuff. We think a lot of Deontay. We think a lot of Flott. They both produced for us in a number of different ways, and they both deserve an opportunity to compete.
Yesterday, Russ, this kid is 14th season. I know it's his first year here. Was presented with, well, you're looking forward to taking a little bit of a break now, and he was like, no. Is that just kind of something he said, or do you expect him to take a break? He was like, no, I wish we could keep going. I wish we could keep going.
Yeah, I think he's got a routine after being in the league for 14 years. He loves this whole process. Loves the spring, loves the weight room, loves doing everything he can do to get ready for a season. That's why he's had the success that he's had. I'm sure he'd keep going if he could keep going. But he has a good routine that he's followed for a number of years to get himself ready for July.
I think quarterback's a little different position than most in regards to the information and what you ask from them. Quarterback, I'm talking about.
I'm with you.
I didn't know. Sure. If you
Yep.
heard me. With Jackson, what do you tell him? In the next 6 weeks or whatever, going into the summer, like what's your advice to him on sort of the best way to handle it as a quarterback?
Yeah, it's not much different than the other positions. He's going to have time to work on his craft individually, fundamentally, when he goes away, but he's going to have to do a good job of staying in his iPad, if you will, and reviewing the things that we've covered. You can't have much contact with them during the next few weeks until they get back. The rookies will be back earlier than the veterans. We'll get going with him, but he's got a lot of studying to do. I know he'll do that. He's going to have his playbook. He's going to have his video with him. So he'll grind away.
Dave, do you send guys off, like we always talk the end of the season about exit meetings? Do you have exit meetings now and send guys off with kind of checklists of what you want them to work for? And is it everybody or just select guys?
Yeah, so when they get here, all the coaches, individual coaches, meet with each player in their room, and then the core special teams guys meet with Gobi. They go through a number of things that we think they're doing really well or they've done well on tape, whether it's a free agent, a rookie, someone we had last year, and things that we think they need to improve on and focus on throughout the spring. And then at the end of the spring, you sit down with them again, all the individual coaches meet with them again and say, okay, this is what we got accomplished. We said A, B, and C need to improve. Look, A, B, and C all improved, but maybe not as much C. So this is something we want you to focus on over the next 30 days when you come back ready to go. Or maybe there'll be another thing that pops up when you're practicing that you talk to those guys about.